What's up guys, Lewi here. Today I'm super excited to be bringing on one of my buddies and a business partner of mine, Matt McGee. Matt is a financial whiz. Like, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, to the point where sometimes like we'll be sitting down talking and I'm just like glazed over. I have no idea what he's talking about, but his skill set, and you'll hear this when we talk of his history and in investment banking and all that stuff, and how he brings that into real estate and how he coaches the agents that he works with in these things and how he can explain things in layman terms. The guy's incredible. I'm really excited for you all to be watching this. So Matt McGee in Evergreen, Colorado, he has channels on YouTube that are going to break down exactly how you can structure your business, how you can set yourself up for retirement in real estate, and specifically for real estate agents. The link for his stuff is in the description below, but for now, let's bring on Matt. What's up, everyone? I'm bringing on my man, Matt McGee. How's it going?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me on, man.
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Man, we go back a little bit here in the real estate business. Matt and I were in the same brokerage. Gosh, when was that?
I think 19, maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago. Yeah, those were good times in the Steel Street office.
Yeah, that's right. Some of the best times.
The best times. So good. It was just the boys club. It was just that office was just chaos. It was so much fun.
Yeah, bonkers on the daily.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, man. Well, listen, this is all about just having conversations and kind of jamming out and see what everyone's doing in the real estate business, see what everyone kind of came from and how they relate that, what they do to the business. Because I know, like, with you help agents a lot, in terms of like really like the analytical side is like your jam. So maybe, which is not my jam. So anytime I need something, I always hit up Matt, because I'm like, dude, how do you make this spreadsheet work? So like, I guess go back, like, so before real estate, you were in some kind of banking, like what was that? What were you doing?
Yeah. I'll just give you the brief overview on how I got where I am. How's that work?
Hey, listen, I'll just sit back and listen.
Yeah. So back in the day, this dates back to growing up as a child and my infancy. My family had a wholesale food distribution business. So I grew up in a family business where the ideology of the business was to work in all facets of the business so that you understood the business as an entirety, right? So from the time I could start working at 12 years old, I was working in the warehouse, dusting pallets, mopping floors, picking up trash, rotating inventory. So like, unbeknownst to me, I was learning inventory methods from the time I was a child. In conjunction with that, I started saving money at a very early age. So, I set up my first retirement account, my Roth IRA, when I was 14 years old. And the first couple grand I would earn every summer, I would put right into my retirement account. 14, 15, 16, all the way through high school, I was funding my retirement account. So personal finance has always been important to me. Running businesses has been important to me. Understanding how businesses have been important to me. Fast forward to my junior year of college, I was actually working for another family business in England, and my family called me up and told me that they were selling the business. And I was going to college with the intention of running this business. So I was studying finance and accounting under the guise that if you can kind of understand the numbers behind a business, you can understand the business. So it was a little bit bittersweet. It was cool because I knew that my parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles would be in a position to be able to retire and kind of live out their lives in a little bit different state than we had done for a majority of my upbringing. But then it was kind of an oh shit moment because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Right. So fast forward to graduating college, I started interviewing companies and businesses of all sorts. I talked to investment bankers, I talked to wealth managers, and ultimately stumbled on commercial banking. And the reason is because in commercial banking, you're basically meeting with business owners of all sorts. So I was in the Chicago market, in the middle market. So I was dealing with companies with $500 million in revenues and below, which is, small middle market in Chicago, all private companies. We weren't really dealing with public companies, but we were dealing with like some private equity firms that would acquire some of these companies. And I would just go meet with these owners and figure out like how they were running their business. So it was cool because you could see their income, all their expenses, the good companies, the bad companies, who had high profit margins, who had low profit margins, etc. And then there was always a real estate component to it. So when we were providing loans, we're looking at a real estate side. Fast forward a little bit into my banking career in 08, 09, there was obviously, the big financial crisis in the United States with subprime lending, et cetera. And I was at a bank that ended up getting acquired by one of the biggest banking institutions in the country, actually the fifth largest, U.S. bank. And we had a division that was managing bank-owned assets. So our bank took back something like $200 million of bank-owned properties, and I was on the team managing those. So I'm managing residential, multifamily, industrial, office space, medical office buildings, like you name it, retail. I was managing it, both from a management perspective to cash flow as well as disposition. So as a bank rep, I was working with brokers to sell these properties. So we were doing like 75, 80 transactions a year. So it was just like a constant deal flow. So I got to see so many different types of deals and so many different types of brokers that I was dealing with to facilitate this. And I loved my job in banking, but there were portions of it I didn't love. And I just thought that I could go start my own business and do it better than a lot of these brokers I was working with. Yeah. So that's kind of the impetus to how I got into real estate brokerage.
All right. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Dude, that's wild. Okay, just let's rewind for a second here. Now, I just want to go back to when you were 14. You were investing in your retirement. Now, did you know you were doing that? Or was it just like, I was taught to put money away and then it just whatever?
Yeah, I was taught to put money away. And I would say like the difference with my upbringing than a lot of people that I've talked to is because we had this family business, money wasn't like a taboo topic. We always talked about money. We talked about how to save it, how to spend it, like how to leverage it, how the business was doing. These were dinner time conversations. And I remember I'll never forget this. I bought my first stock when I was in 4th grade with allowance money, like from mowing yards and stuff. I bought one share of Pepsi, the PepsiCo company.
I love it.
$38.
You still have it?
Oh yeah. It's split like multiple times, worth many more. It's probably worth, I don't know, a couple $100 compared to the 38 I put into it.
Because that's like, I didn't grow up like that, and I think probably 99% of Americans don't grow up talking about money and learn about money and stuff like that. Like, we only learn it when we're like 35, 40, like when it's like, oh shit, like we better get it together, like, yeah. And it's so now, like with our kids, like we talk about money all the time in our house and like how things work and the aggressive patience of saving for something,
Yep.
And it's like, it's weird how we're not taught to do that. Like the school system doesn't teach it. Like I've never understood why you wouldn't want to, as a society, build a strong economy by teaching kids how to manage money. I don't know why that doesn't work, because as adults, it just makes things a shitstorm. Like no one knows what to do,
Yeah. I think in America, it's primarily because people want you to spend money, right? They don't want you to save. They want you to spend. And then the people that really end up getting ahead are the people that invest, right? So like, if you know how to make money work for you from the time you're a kid or younger, you have the compounding effect of time on your side. Like if your kids start saving, they can be worth so much more money than if they started saving 20 years later, right? And I didn't know the idea of compounding, but it was just instilled in me, like, oh, your money will earn more money, will earn more money. I didn't know that was the concept when I was 14, 15, 16.
Right.
And then by the time I understood it, I had already been investing for all these years. And I'm like, oh, and you can see it compounding and you're like, oh, okay, it's growing,
Yeah.
And then that's when it gets more exciting.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I think especially because like, you and I are at a brokerage now where that idea of like multiple streams of revenue and and compounding stock shares and all that is pretty prevalent in like how I see myself retiring because of what's in place here, but I think like for you, because anytime I have any kind of financial question or don't know what's going on, I tend to ask you. Now, you don't give me financial advice because you're not a financial planner. I know you're going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say that publicly,
yeah.
but it's one of those things where I know like you just kind of have this like knack of being able to explain things really well. And like, how has that like helped you in terms of like in your real estate business? And I know you mentor a lot of agents, and we have agents that we work with together. Like, how does that all come about? Because we know people, and I've seen so many people who are like high performing agents, like crush, making like millions, but have nothing to show for it, or have severe credit card debt, or are just their whole lives is falling apart. And it's like, where's the disconnect there?
Well, again, I think it kind of relates to our society. It's like a spend culture, right? So, like, my business partner, Alex, I introduced him to the concept of a Roth IRA. And it's like, yo, if you make below X dollars, stock away your first 6,000 annually. The limit might even be higher, 6,500 or 7,000 right now, into your Roth IRA, and just leave it till retirement, invest it. And I'm not giving, financial advice as far as investing, but I am introducing the concepts. And then once he has achieved the maximum level there, it's like, okay, now set up a SEP IRA, which is a self-employed pension. And you can set that up for yourself and put up to 25% of your net income into that as a tax deferral. So then, number one, you're reducing your tax. Number two, you're saving for retirement. You're thinking about your future. And for me, it's just helping people. It's introducing the idea that people may or may not have thought of. You know what I mean? And whether or not they take advantage of it is up to them. But at least I know that I've done what I can do to introduce it to people to help them hopefully have some delayed gratification. So,
Yeah.
like me and you, we've got young kids, and yours are a little older than mine, but I want to be able to, I do want to be able to spend time with them now, but I want to be able to retire at an earlier age than I would have otherwise, to be able to, spend a lot of time with them, and hopefully even more time with grandchildren. Right.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the things about like coaching now, because you and I both, coach agents. It's like there's so many coaching platforms out there, and you can pay for this, you can pay for that. But I've found that when I switched to like the actual things that helped me become like less of a space cadet, less like a workaholic, and like diving into like, okay, how can I actually just be productive? Finding the tools that help me do that, and then teach those tools, like it was a game changer. And you find that it relates to so many different people than you never thought. And I think that's the same with your path as well. Like I know you're putting out some content about this, stuff on your channel, and we'll link that all below. But you know, it's like this is important stuff, right? And there's no one else like really. I've not seen anyone else in the real estate space really like teach about this. Like we teach about investment in terms of like investing in property and building out a portfolio of doors and stuff like that. But I don't think anyone's really helping agents to like manage their money properly and be financially responsible.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of just relates to our group in general and the collaboration, right? Like, I'll be honest, like I have severe attention issues, and I get lost in going down rabbit holes doing other things, and had kind of tricked myself into thinking I was a workaholic in the past, or I had to hustle. And then like I took a page out of your playbook, like not working on Sundays and spending it with my family. And what that's done for me and my family has been tremendous, just from because my wife works a full-time job and she's got weekends off. And if I'm working both days on the weekend, we are always missing each other, right? Like never being able to spend time together. So, and I actually find that it's been better for my business, because I can say to my clients, like, hey, just so you know, I don't work on Sundays. I say that up front. If there is a place you want to see, I have business partners that can help get you in a place. If you want to write an offer, I'll help with that, but I'm not out and about and working. Sundays are a day off for me. And you kind of need that from a balance perspective. So, I'm taking time management and efficiency teachings from you. And sometimes you take things from me, whether it's financial advice, or I really kind of pride myself on structuring as well. Like I've got some unique ideas up the sleeve for making offers for clients, or like selling. And I don't want to overcomplicate things, but I do like to teach things that are maybe a little bit outside of the box sometimes. Right.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing I've seen with your clients is that they're educated, and like that education piece. I think like, we're filming this in February 23, but like the last couple of years has been cake for agents. It's so easy to do this business. But I
Yeah.
remember when we first met, I remember I was in the office in Steel Street in Cherry Creek, and I was like, I can't remember what I was doing. I was just working away, and all I heard was like, all the way, like there's like Chicago accent, like just breaking through. And I was like, what is going on here? But it was all day nonstop. And I was like, he just calls people all the time. And I thought it was like sales pitches and stuff like that. But it was education pieces. And I think that's how you managed to move to a new city and then grow your business pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Was because of how much you can educate people from your knowledge. And I think that's what a lot of agents get from you, is that even if it's not like advice for them to help them save and stuff like that, it's being able to break down complicated like financial patterns or loan types or whatever it is into layman terms, and then be able to feed that to clients. And like being able to do that skill is insanely valuable. And I think that's something that a lot of people get when you're, teaching these things.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's how I try to do it. And like, if you can explain it to a kid, your point is coming across. And that's what I try and do. I try and make it as simple as possible. Although, I mean, the nature of the business is like, especially if you're moving over into commercial versus residential, it's like complications arise, and it's obviously the higher the dollar amount and the property type, et cetera, can get more and more confusing. Separate point. My point, and I think what you're saying is like, I just try and make it easy for everybody, as easy as possible. And I the way that I try and do things, and I've been doing more and more of, and I still have more to do, is like, we've talked about this many times, is like, what is the content you're putting out, right? And the content I try to put out is, if people ask me a question more than once, I make a video on it. Because it's like, oh, how do I buy land? Well, that could be a 50-minute conversation. You know what I mean? And to have a 50-minute conversation with everybody that calls about a piece of land that may or may not understand everything that goes into purchasing land before building is worthy of a video. And then I can send them a video and say, hey, watch this, write down some questions. If you still want to move forward on that, let's have a discussion. Much like with agents, if some of the agents we're coaching ask me how to do a comparative market analysis, I'm asked that multiple times. I do a video on it, and it's like, then I can do a 40-minute video on, this is how I run evaluation. And it's not only a science, some art goes into it, and you need to take some liberties sometimes, because there's no such thing as two properties that are exact, so sometimes you have to make judgment calls. And I try and point that out when I'm making these videos, like, hey, this isn't set in stone, but this is a roadmap for you. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just one example of many, whether it's a CMA, whether it's how I do, a market analysis, how I do a monthly market update, how I've set up for my family an estate plan. Like, let's be honest, like in this industry, you can make a lot of money. So if you're making a lot of money and you're thinking about the future, one of the things that you should be thinking about in the future is a proper estate plan. And what does that look like? And if you have kids, God forbid something happens to you and your wife, who's taking care of your kids, right? Like, so these are all things that have been, number one, taught to me. Number two, I've seen high net worth individuals in the banking business have these structures. So look, this isn't unique to me. This isn't unique to anyone. These things are out there, but not everybody knows about them. So I'm just trying to put the information that I'm aware of out there and help navigate people that are successful through life.
Yeah. And well, that's the thing. It's like taxis, right? It's like everyone's playing the game regardless of if you know it or not. It's just, do you know the rules? And that's that's pretty much. I've only really learned this lesson over the last couple of years. I'm like, I don't know the rules. And I started following like some tax people on Instagram and some.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold on, like what? Estate plan. Like we're getting that set up just now. It's because over the last couple of years, I've done a few probate deals. And it's like, they're tough, man, because that they didn't set up an estate plan, and that's it's really challenging to see families go through it. Like, and it's like, they're having to try and fight for the right to get this and that and everything. And I don't want my kids to do that, like I
No.
want it to be set up and I want it to be clearly, given to my favorite child, so so but yeah, it's knowing the rules and how to play. And yeah, again, we're just not taught that, which is brutal. So yeah, it's a very interesting game. Finances have never been my strong point. There's a Conor McGregor quote, and he always says, I have a very unhealthy habit of spending money, but I have a very healthy habit of making money.
Yeah.
So that's how he makes up for it.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I love that, but at the same time, that freaks me out because I do have an unhealthy habit of spending money.
Yeah. It's hard not to with like the day and age we live in. There's just so much cool shit, frankly.
We were just talking about this before we started recording this. Like the amount of subscriptions I have is is so crazy.
Yeah, but your subscriptions are, like you said, it's an ROI thing, right? And the things you subscribe to are income producing or at least efficiency producing. So when you look at that on your hourly wage versus what's it costs you to manage it, I think that, you're smart enough to understand what's worth it and not, and you're auditing it, right? Like that's the one thing I don't do good about is I don't always necessarily audit it enough where I'll get a subscription and sometimes it sits and I don't even realize I have the subscription until I get hit with it a year later on my credit card.
Nothing worse.
Yeah.
Nothing worse.
So I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm guilty of it as well, but I think if you're thinking about it, it's much like parenting, right? Like if you're thinking about being a good parent, you're probably going to be a better parent than if you're not thinking about it. And I'm always thinking about our financial position. My wife doesn't realize how lucky she is because she's never had to worry about a dollar in her life from an investing perspective because I do it all.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, we have the conversation. I'm like, hey, just think about this. Like, you're set up, like my wife has a good job. She's got a 401k and a pension, which almost no one has anymore. And I'm like, you're taken care of. You're investing, like her investing is on autopilot. Ours with, the nature of our business is a little bit more of a roller coaster. Right. So, I tend to do a lot more year-end planning than like monthly investing, which I need to get out of that habit and be more on like a set schedule. But these are like, again, it's not rocket science, but it's things that a lot of people don't think about. And I think a lot of people, agents, investors, buyers, sellers included, could be a lot better with a little bit of diligence.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm super fortunate because I get to have these conversations with you all the time. But in terms of like, we'll link your channel here, but like, what's the overall theme of the newer channel that you put out for agents? What's going on there? Tell me about what that looks like.
Yeah, so it's called The Free Agent, and the idea is just to give people a path to become financially free through real estate. So for agents, it's basically going to start in elementary and go up to as high of a level of education as you want or need to. And if you know more than me, I implore you to come on my channel and have a discussion. Not to say that, I'm the say all be all, but I'm starting with business structure. Like the first series is how do I structure my business? A lot of people get their real estate license and do it in their name personally. And the truth of the matter is there's multiple business structures. You can do it as a sole proprietor, but then there's, you can do an LLC, you can do an S corp. There's any number of business structures. And I go through the pros and the cons of those. And then from there, it's just going to compound, and then I'll talk about investing and like how you can set up retirement accounts and what type of retirement accounts are available to different types of corporate entities, depending on how you set your company up. So it's just going to kind of snowball in my eyes on the level of sophistication, but hopefully be broken down to a simple enough level that everybody can understand it and kind of take bits and pieces of where they're at in their business journey. Because none of these are set in stone. Like you can change your corporate structure whenever you want. You can go from an LLC to an S corp from year to year if you need to. You can change your investment amount. If it's a lean year, you don't need to invest as much into retirement. If it's a heavy year and you have good income, I say put a lot into it if you can, That's my plan, man, is to try and help people become financially free through real estate and specifically help agents understand the gift that they're given to be in this industry.
Yeah. Dude, I love it. I think that could be one of the most powerful channels out there in terms of education for realtors, because there's so much marketing, there's so much lead generation out there. There's so many, a lot. You can search for that on YouTube and find like a whole number of channels doing the same thing. I don't see this. Like I can't really find this, in terms of specifically for realtors being able to set themselves free financially, set things up and starting from baby steps, and we'll go all the way up to, that higher education piece. So, dude, I'm super excited for this. And, I think it's definitely going to be a channel that's going to help a lot of people. And I think that's the main thing about what we're trying to do. I think in everything that we always try and do, it's like, how can we help the agents first? And I think that comes from the top down, obviously from, Glenn Sanford, obviously with EXP, and then, Connor, Mike, myself, you, like, this is what we're all trying to do here. So, cool. I will link your channel below, but where else can people find you?
Yeah. Usual places, YouTube, you can look me up, the free agent, and, Instagram, Matt_McGee_CO, Facebook, Matthew McGee,
All the places.
Yep, all the places. Google my business. I'm there as well. So all my information's public. Any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me or Lewi at any point in time.
I love it, dude. Love it. Well, man, I really
Let's make some people rich, baby.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much, brother.
Hey, thank you. Love you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
See you, bud.